book can take you anywhere. Turn the pages and you'll be there. Come on, join us, you'll see. We're reading with Carylee.
Hi, friends, and thank you for joining us for another Read with Carylee, where we introduce you to authors that may be around the world or just down the street from you. You never know. So today I am so excited to introduce to you Dr. Artika Tyner, and she has written the book, Justice Makes a Difference. Now, before we get into all of that, I want to remind you to hit subscribe and ring the notification bell so that you can be abreast of every author that we have coming here to read with Carylee. And trust me, you don't want to miss any of them. They're so fantastic. So, Dr. Artika Tyner, could you let us know where you are joining us from today?
Yes, I am in my hometown, Rondo, in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Oh, awesome. You are our first author from Minnesota. I'm so excited. So, this book is so fantastic. I must let you know that my son absolutely loved it. He read it a couple times and, he wants to make a difference as well. So let's see if our friends can get into it and be part of the mighty crusade when we see Justice Makes a Difference. Miss Dr. Tyner, can you just get right into the book?
Thank you. So the book is Justice Makes a Difference, the story of Miss Freedom Fighter Esquire. So we appreciate the warm welcome. So Justice's favorite place to visit was her grandma's house. Grandma always greeted her with the biggest, warmest hug. Grandma always made Justice feel important. The best part of Grandma's house was her den full of books. Justice and Grandma would spend hours together in the den, talking and reading. Your name is your destiny, Grandma had been telling Justice since the day she was born. Grandma reminded her often that being named Justice came with great responsibility. To whom much is given, much is accounted for, Grandma said. Justice might not have understood all the words that Grandma said, but she understood that she was meant to serve and lead in her community. One day, when Justice was visiting, Grandma asked, "What is in your hands to make a difference in the world?" "What can I do?" Justice wondered. "I'm only 8 years old. How can I make a difference?" Grandma served in the church. She fed the hungry, sheltered the homeless, clothed those in need, and visited the sick. Grandma described this as living out her faith. Justice wanted to be like her grandma. She wanted to know how she could live out her faith. Grandma found Justice in the den, heavy with thought. "Tell me what's bothering you, Justice," Grandma said. "I want to live out my faith like you, Grandma, but I'm only 8 years old," Justice said. "What can I do? Aren't I too young?" Grandma's smile was gentle and reassuring. "Your age does not show what you are capable of, so don't let someone tell you that you're too young to make a difference." "Justice, do you remember the poem you wrote for Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day celebration at your school?" Grandma asked. That poem made a difference. Justice remembered the applause of her teachers and classmates. She knew her grandma's words were true. Grandma gave Justice a book. Here's a book about someone else who made a difference through her writing. Justice spent the rest of the afternoon reading about Ida B. Wells. Ida B. Wells was a journalist who used her writing to advance racial equality. She skillfully wielded her pen to wage war for justice through her work as editor of the Memphis Free Speech and Headlight. She continued to advance social change while serving as a journalist with Chicago's Daily Inner Ocean and the Chicago Conservator, one of the oldest African-American newspapers in the United States. Justice was amazed by how Ida B. Wells used her pen to write for justice. Justice picked up a pen and said, "I can write for justice." All that week, Justice worked on a poem about love and peace. When Justice visited the next weekend, she showed her grandma the finished poem. "Words are powerful," Grandma told Justice. "They can be used in powerful ways to do good or to do harm. That's why it's important to always be careful with your words." "You did good, Justice." Justice smiled. Grandma always made her feel proud. "Justice, I have another book to share with you," Grandma said, and handed Justice a book with a picture of a man on the cover who stood larger than life. "Words can be powerful, and music can be powerful too," Grandma told her. Justice read all about Paul Robeson, who sang freedom songs in more than 20 different languages. He was a lawyer, a singer, an actor, and a professional athlete. Justice marveled at how talented Paul Robeson was. He was able to touch people's hearts through the power of song. These songs empowered others to join in the fight for freedom and justice. Justice had grown up hearing her grandma sing powerful songs like "We Shall Overcome" and Sam Cooke's "A Change Is Gonna Come." These were freedom songs. When grandma sang, Justice could feel it all the way down in her toes. "Grandma," Justice said, "I want to sing for justice. Will you teach me some songs?" Grandma began to sing, "This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine." Justice felt a light inside her spark. Let it shine, she sang. Sometimes when Justice visited, she helped Grandma in the garden. Justice loved the way the warm earth felt under her feet. She was amazed by how the tiniest seed could become a big vine full of juicy red tomatoes or a tall forest of okra plants. Grandma would sing while they worked, and Justice would hum along. Their music served as the rhythm for their digging and planting. Planting a garden was hard work, and it gave Justice a lot of time to daydream. She fantasized about what it would be like to travel around the globe. "What's the most exotic place you ever traveled to, Grandma?" Justice asked dreamily. And Grandma chuckled. "I haven't been much outside St. Paul, honey," Grandma said, "but I've traveled all over the world through books." This made Justice happy because she loved to travel through books too. After they were finished in the garden, Grandma gave Justice a book about a woman in a faraway land. "Happy traveling," Grandma said. Justice read all about the country, Kenya, and the work of Dr. Wangari Maathai. Dr. Maathai was a global leader. She organized the Green Belt movement with the hopes of restoring trees in her home country, Kenya. She sought to restore the beauty of nature and uplift the close-knit community. She began by organizing mothers, daughters, and grandmothers to take action by planting one seedling at a time. More than 51 million trees were planted. Justice had an idea. "Grandma, can we bring the community together like Dr. Maathai and start a community garden?" Grandma smiled her proudest smile. "I think that's a wonderful idea. Should we invite others to help?" "Yes," Justice said. "We can grow fruits and vegetables. Maybe we can ask our neighbors to help us." During one visit to her grandma's house, Justice was quieter than usual. She sat on her favorite green chair in Grandma's kitchen drinking lemonade. Grandma looked concerned. "What's troubling you, Princess?" "My friends at school said women can't be president," Justice said. "But I always thought I might grow up to be president someday." "Justice, don't ever let anyone tell you that you can't be who you want to be." She wanted to believe her grandma, but she still wasn't sure. When Justice got home from Grandma's that afternoon, she found a book in her backpack about Shirley Chisholm. She knew it was from her grandma because her grandma always left books in hidden places as special gifts. Justice read about Shirley Chisholm, who became the first African-American woman to run for president of the United States in 1972. She called herself the candidate of the people because she was determined to fight for the rights of all people. Justice became very excited. I can be president one day, she said to herself. And then she stood tall and said with confidence, I can fight for justice. Justice couldn't wait to tell her friends at school about Shirley Chisholm. She told her grandma all about it. Grandma, now all my friends want to be president. I'm counting on it, Grandma said, smiling. What else are you learning about in school, she asked. This week, we learned about the legal case, Brown versus Board of Education, Justice told her grandma. Grandma got a faraway look in her eyes. I remember attending school in a one-room shack in Alabama, she told Justice. Dozens of students of all ages gathered in the schoolhouse to learn together. We didn't have much. Most days, not even paper or pencils, but we had a love of reading. Justice couldn't imagine going to school in a one-room schoolhouse with kids of all different ages. Justice told Grandma that she learned that Brown versus Board of Education was a case about ending segregation in schools. Grandma, we learned that Black children were not allowed to attend school with white children. Yes, Justice, I remember, Grandma said. The schools were separate and unequal. Grandma, we also learned about the lawyer who worked to end segregation in school. Justice was proud to know such important information. Indeed, Grandma smiled. Charles Hamilton Houston. He said lawyers should serve as a mouthpiece for the weak and a sentinel, guarding against wrong. That's a funny word, Justice said. What does it mean to be a mouthpiece, she asked. Grandma explained, a mouthpiece means that you use your voice to share about the challenges people face in society, like ending hunger or ending homelessness. What does sentinel mean? How about you find out for yourself in your dictionary, Grandma said with a wink. Justice ran to her dictionary. She paged through until she found sentinel. A sentinel is a soldier or a guard whose job is to stand and keep watch. Wow, Justice thought, I can be a soldier for justice. Finally, Justice was sure. She knew she could make a difference in the world by becoming a lawyer. Her love for superheroes inspired her vision for the future. She had a dream of becoming Miss Freedom Fighter Esquire, a superhero with a law degree and an afro. Now, Justice could see herself more clearly. She was determined to use her education in the struggle for justice. She finally understood the meaning of her grandma's words, to whom much is given, much is accounted for. Justice would live up to her name. Justice, are you ready for school? Asked Grandma. Justice could not believe how fast the time went by. She had remained in the den all day with her books. As she lay down for bed and finished her bedtime prayer with Grandma, Justice said, Grandma, I will make a difference by becoming a lawyer and helping those in need. Grandma gave her a reassuring smile and kissed Justice goodnight. Justice found a book under her pillow, another special gift from Grandma. Justice began reading about Ella Baker. Ella Baker helped the young people of the civil rights movement get organized and take a stand for equality and freedom. Justice fell asleep, quietly humming Ella's song. We who believe in freedom cannot rest.
And that book is just chock full of so much for children. And I especially loved that Justice's grandmother was just, giving her all of the books that really helped her to be able to find what she wanted to do and find out, how much she wanted to make a difference in the world, and to help her to learn about all of those in the past that have made such a difference. So, what was your reason for writing this book in the way that you wrote it?
I was inspired to tell the stories of many of the people who inspired me. So when I think about as my role as a civil rights attorney, how Charles Hamilton Houston really inspired the legacy of the future by creating and laying a foundation on how you could fight for justice. I've served as a community journalist for years, so I've been inspired by Ida B. Wells of writing for justice. And literally, that was my experience of seeing a man larger than life on the cover of a book, and it was Paul Robeson, and learning about his story and how he was able to sing for justice around the world. And Dr. Wangari Maathai, my connection and my work throughout the continent of Africa. I wanted to share the stories to give young people the motivation and the tools to know that they could lead change in their community, and they're never too young to make a difference. Just start where you are.
Yes, absolutely. And we hear so much about a lot of these giants and these heroes throughout Black History Month. And it's so important for our children to have books like these so that they don't just hear about them through Black History Month, but they are able to pick up the book and it doesn't have to be an encyclopedia. Like, I love that you wrote this book on their level so that they could see that they, through learning about these people and even wanting to make a difference, they can go forward with that.
Yes, no, that's my mission. And when I think about it and what inspired us to create the book, to start our publishing company, you're more likely to see a book with on the cover a Black dog or a Black bear than a Black girl or a Black boy. So we wanted children to have that inspiration, to see themselves as leaders, as change agents, and to see themselves in a world with infinite possibilities. And I couldn't think of a better way to have a young superhero, a young woman of color, a Black girl, telling her story, not, to your point, not just during Black History Month, but we'll follow Mary J. Blige. We tell the story 25/8. We had to add an extra hour and an extra day in the week to tell our stories, to be able to have those mirrors to reflect the power, the intellect, the inspiration of our people since the beginning of time.
Yes, absolutely. And all of that is such an inspiration. And I know this book it's inspired my son, and he's wanting to learn so much more about Black history. And it's in these books that I can say, okay, you know what, here, I can give this to you for some of the things that I don't know, and I'm learning along with him as well. So with all of that inspiration that you're now giving our children, what books inspired you when you were growing up?
Well, I would say what inspired me, of course, were the classics. I really enjoyed the Dr. Seuss and learning, the rhyming and the technique to be able to really get those skills of basic phonics. But quite the challenge was really, after I thought about it, I didn't see books that represented me. I mean, I read the whole Babysitter's Club because there was one character, because there was Jessica as a character. And then they threw in a Black character in Sweet Valley High. So I went from Dr. Seuss and then Nancy Drew. I like mystery books, but I never saw what we're producing through our publishing company. I never saw a book that featured someone who looked like me as the main character, as a source of inspiration. And more importantly, our book collection also focuses on the African diaspora. So our other books like Amazing Africa give us a glimpse into Africa in ways that we may have never had, because oftentimes the only pictures that we see are of despair. But how many times have we seen a picture of the beautiful beaches of Sierra Leone, or to hear or listen to a powerful speech from Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the first Prime Minister of Ghana? So my goal is also not just to connect the experience here for African Americans and of people of color, to connect us across the globe. We're 1 billion strong. So we should be able to see our stories reflected on the pages of books for all ages.
Yes, and that is absolutely why, I created Read with Carylee, to be able to get those stories out. Like you said, we have the classics, but there is so much more that can be written and given to our children at a young age so that they are able to learn and know the things that are around the world and the contributions that Black people and brown people have given to this world. You know, we're a global community and we're connecting it one book at a time here on Read with Carylee. Yes.
I'm grateful. I'm grateful that you've created this platform because it's essential, you know, for the mirrors for children of color, but also the windows for all children to be able to see
Yes.
across cultures, to be able to build bridges. So it's essential because I did not grow up with anything like what I see now. So I'm grateful as I go through your channel, as I watch the videos. I didn't have that. So now, as we think about it, culturally, we often talk about how we're indebted 7 generations out. We're creating then a ripple effect for generations we won't even see, that they will have
Yes.
books, that they will have a learning curriculum that reflects who they are in an empowering and uplifting way. So I always tell folks as they're writing books that have helped to promote diversity in books, as they're doing the work that you are and encouraging reading and literacy, that we're doing this work for our children's children's children. And I'm grateful that so many brilliant minds like yourself that we're on this journey together.
Well, thank you so much. That is an amazing compliment. And I thank you for, you know, being one of those who are leading the charge in empowering our children. So again, thank you so much for joining us today here at Read with Carylee. And be sure to check out Dr. Artika Tyner's books. And Justice Makes a Difference is so powerful. You can look in the description below on how you can get your copy of Justice Makes a Difference, and make sure you look out for other books that are coming from her publishing house, her publishing company, and books written by her as well. So thank you again, Dr. Tyner. And thank you for joining us today. We have so much that we can pack into this time, and we hope that you do take a look back at all our videos and make sure that you subscribe so that you do not miss anything. Again, thank you for joining us. We'll see you next Saturday, and until then, grab a book and read. Have a great day. Thanks for watching another amazing episode of the Read with Carylee Show. We have amazing authors coming by every week. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe below. You don't want to miss a thing.